Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod here with my Week 9 player rankings for Big Brother 26. I'll be ranking the players from worst to best based on how I feel like they're doing as of the end of Thursday night's eviction. Spoiler warning, I will be talking about the 9th evicted house guest. Before I dive in, I put a link in the description to my playlist where you can catch up on my previous recaps and rankings. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. But let's dive into it. Firstly, we have to say goodbye to T-Core, who I had first last week. She was in a great place in the game. She still had her trio in the game, and she was using them as shields. She was protected under most HOHs except Angela and Leah. This week started bad for her when she did so bad in the HOH, kind of just leaving it up to chance, and Leah ends up winning, which is a doomed scenario for T-Core because she really doesn't have much influence over Leah and never did. Despite it all, she still avoided Leah's initial nomination and did get to play in the veto with 2 chances at a win. Her entire alliance could have been saved had she won one of those vetoes, but she doesn't and ends up on the block. In the end, she was just too much of a juicy target for the house to pass up, and while she had many opportunities to change the outcome, I still don't feel good about this eviction. In 7th, I have Kimo, who was What the is ass? Well, he was ass. He was ass last week, and he was 8th last week, where he went on the block as a willing pawn and survived the eviction vote against Quinn. He doesn't do well in the HOH competition when he could have done really well in it, just standing there. And when Leah wins HOH, he doesn't even try to avoid going on the block, admitting himself that he didn't campaign to her. These 3 should have just marched up to Leah and started throwing out names, but he ends up nominated, and Angela decides from the kindness of her heart to save Kimo with the veto, but more on her decision making later. Despite benefiting slightly from things happening in the game, he didn't actively do anything this week to help himself strategically, and he comes into this week in a competitively weak duo rather than a competitively weak trio, giving him even less opportunities to be randomly safe. He ends up being the only vote to keep T-Core, and while I don't think that says much about his game, he hasn't voted for an evicted house guest in over a month now, with the last successful vote he's cast being for Brooklyn. That's how far out in space he is in the game right now. In 6th, I have Leah, who last week was 7th. She came into this week having just lost her greatest ally in Quinn and was on the wrong side of the vote. There were high chances that she would have been nominated, but she ends up winning the HOH in what she referred to on the feeds as a physical comp, but it was really just standing there. But credit to her for being strong-willed enough to win it through a 10-hour competition. I didn't have too much faith in her HOH after her veto decisions, but I was ready to dock her if Angela somehow touched the block this week. At least she kept Angela safe, and she has closest bonds with Angela, McKenzie, kind of Cam, which made her pretty much pick that side and target T-Core's side. She nominates Kimo and Rubina, claiming she basically had concepts of a plan, but she really didn't because it seems like she didn't plan too much ahead. When she and Angela won their vetoes, she didn't try to influence Angela at all and pretty much told Angela whatever she decides to do is fine. So Angela saves Kimo and Leah replaces him with T-Core, as she's pretty committed to targeting the trio, but she didn't really put in that much work to influence who between T-Core or Rubina really went. Leah was in such a great position to make a big move here, especially after just being so pwned by the rest of the house last week. She could have just nominated T-Core and Chelsea from the jump. She showed some game sense in the diary room where she said she would have used her janky veto to put up T-Core and Chelsea both, but she could have just nominated them both from the beginning, and they would both be still on the block on Thursday, neither of them won a veto, which is a much cleaner and more achievable plan than having to nominate half the house and win 2 vetoes to achieve the same result. I'm still after all this time not feeling her game. She managed to win 2 powers this week and misplay both of them, and she's obviously going on the block soon, if not this week, for making herself the only person who hasn't done so. I was tempted to put her below Kimo, but at least she's very active in the game right now. In 5th, I have Rubina, who last week was 5th. Rubina had really coasted through the previous week, not doing much. Coming into this week, she fell out of a really pivotal HOH where she could have at least tried to last long enough to make a deal for herself, but her whole alliance didn't do well, and they get a doom scenario with Leah winning HOH. The minimal effort from her trio to talk themselves off the block resulted in her being nominated, losing 2 vetoes, not being saved, and winding up on the block on Thursday. Her campaigning seemed to be a lot of crying into her tinted hoodie. I don't think she stayed because of anything she actively did, but losing T-Core means she no longer is a shield that could get sniped as people come for T-Core. I'm not saying she's going to do anything with this opportunity, but there is an opportunity for Rubina to slip by a little bit, let some things change in the game, and find herself in a good spot later like McKenzie did earlier this season. In 4th, I'm putting Cam, who last week was 4th. I'd predicted that he'd be pretty safe this week, as he's pretty well insulated. He ends up doing well enough in the HOH comp to get guaranteed safety from Leah, which helps solidify something since they have a pretty rocky relationship, and after the veto is used, he's a big part of the swing conversations between evicting Rubina or T-Core. It's not as exciting because these 2 players are really the same thing in different fonts as far as how they play the game and the things they're gonna do. He chooses to evict T-Core, which isn't really that great for him, but T-Core did nominate him, so whatever. He's still kind of doing nothing most of the time, but the continuous drama with Chelsea and the women being such a story for him is really not so good for him long term as far as his perception. When he and Chelsea were having that big public fight about the cots, I found myself wondering, how is this man going to win a jury vote after this? He's kind of in a weird spot where if he wants to win, he has to take out Chelsea, and he can't do that without really upsetting Chelsea, and if she goes home without him doing it, he probably leaves soon after her. So for that reason, I can't put him much higher. Here's where I'm I'm going to make tough decisions that may not be popular. In third, I have Chelsea, who was second, following her HOH where she evicted Quinn. Her game was strong, but even Leah had been talking about how Chelsea was running the show. So when Leah won HOH, I was worried for Chelsea. Chelsea kind of came to Leah with her tail between her legs, asking not to be nominated, but Chelsea didn't talk Leah out of nominating her. McKenzie and Cam's closeness to Leah saved Chelsea this week. Losing T-Core is so bad for Chelsea and shows that Chelsea isn't really running her group as much as we thought she was. T-Core was a strong ally for Chelsea who was protecting her, but also now a precedent may have been set to take out frontrunners. The same way I feel that the argument about the cot made Cam look bad, I think she continues to make herself look jealous of McKenzie and Leah, who are both still in the game and could get annoyed by it eventually, and she gets distracted by the Cam drama that takes her eyes off the prize. Also, she almost went home this week. If Leah had that janky veto and put her up, I think all hell would have broken loose in the house. Given that this is based on the end of the episode Thursday and Angela was beasting that HOH competition, Chelsea could be in big trouble this week. She was doing well in the HOH comp, and if she wins, she probably takes out Leah and becomes an even bigger target through that. It's just a bit of a tough spot right now for her, but I think she still clears a jury vote as of now. Hear me out. In second, I have Angela, who last week was sixth. Last week, after being saved with the veto by McKenzie, Angela voted wrong alongside Leah to keep Quinn. I was really impressed with her initiative to make deals during the HOH, knowing that if Cam won, there was a high likelihood that she could go on the block. Leah ends up winning the HOH, which is really good for Angela. I was slightly worried that Angela could be pressured from both sides to put up Angela, but she ended up being safe. She goes on to be super chill in Janky World, loving the dancing and twerking, showing the house guests her at her best. And I think they all really do like her to some degree. When she wins the veto, she knows pretty instantly that she wants to use it on Kimo to make up for the fact that she's acted against Kimo at several points in the game. And Kimo is worth keeping around for Angela because he's someone she could easily beat in competitions. Through this, she also forces a big move to happen with T-Core ending up going on the block. She took the initiative that started the T-Core blindside and had a huge hand in it, and at this point, she really has the best resume in the house. Backdooring Matt, using her veto to force Leah to take out T-Core, 2 HOHs, she hasn't been having outbursts lately, and I feel like Angela's been on the up and up in the game. She's also stated that her plan is to come after Chelsea, which is the best move for her game. I know I'm going to get comments that she's a sneak and too high, but I'll give credit where credit is due. She's been playing well lately. In first, I'm putting McKenzie, who last week was third. Following Chelsea's HOH, she was in a great position, but could have been targeted this week. Her long-term frenemy Leah wins HOH, and it could have gone either way because they started as friends. Leah and McKenzie have been on and off talking bad about each other from time to time. I slowly moved McKenzie up the list because she has Cam and Chelsea who are not coming for her. Angela and Leah not coming for her. T-Core is gone. She was coming for her. And I think Rubina and Kimo are going to try to work with her. So by those metrics, she's in a pretty good spot. I'm amazed at the fact that she's had to climb tooth and nail from the bottom of the house week 1 and is in a pretty okay spot now. I think if she gets to the end, it's a really compelling story. And when they showed her crying about her dad, I remembered that she's only 22 years old. For context, young Cedric was 21. So I'm just impressed by her, and I think that she both deserves some credit and is truly in a great spot to win a few more competitions and potentially win the game. So those are my rankings for this week. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I don't even know if I agree with myself. Let me know in the comments, what are your rankings for the week? Help me out. I love to talk with you all in the comments. I always respond. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. I'm covering Big Brother, The Challenge, and Survivor right now. It's keeping me super busy. Until next time, have a nice weekend. Bye.